In this video, I'm going over the economic definition of good literature. And to think about good literature, we need to think about how good is it on the first read, how good is it the second time you read it, how good is it the third time you read it. And essentially, the more you read a particular book that's a really good book, the more you like it, the more you catch all these nuances, the more you make connections between what happens at the end and ironies that happen at the beginning and interrelationships between characters. So the book actually gets better the more and more you read it, and that's going to translate into a positive second derivative on this graph. So let's explore that. It gets into the ideas of marginal and the ideas of positive second derivatives. So we might imagine if you enjoy a book 10 oodles of happiness, we have oodles or total enjoyment of the book on the y-axis. We have the number of times you've read that particular book on the x-axis. If you enjoy a book 10 oodles of happiness the first time you read it, then you might expect that the second time you read it, you'll also enjoy it 10 oodles worth. And this sort of linear line here where you enjoy it exactly 10 oodles every single time you read it, that's going to be the dividing line between good literature and bad literature. So we know if you read a really kind of mediocre novel or a novel where there's no real depth to the characters, no real insights into human behavior and ironies across different parts of the plot, then what happens is you enjoy it a lot the first time you read it. And I'll use a blue marker for this. So you enjoy it your 10 oodles the first time you read it, but after that you basically don't get any utility at all from reading it any more than that one particular time. You get zero marginal utility after you've read it because all that matters is really finding out what happens. And this is mediocre or bad literature. For really good novels, however, once you've read it once, you understand what's going to happen next. So the second time you read it, you're not focused on the plot as much. You're focused on making connections between ironies about different patterns that emerge in the text. You can find something that happens at the beginning now has a particular significance now that you know what happens at the end of the book, and you're able to really think a lot about the nuance of the book. So it's actually, with really good literature, it's actually better the second time you read it than it is the first. So you have this increasing marginal utility from reading the book. So you might actually get an extra 20 oodles reading it the second time. If you get 10 oodles from reading it the first time, the second time might give you 20 oodles. And so you have this sort of increasing marginal shape, this convex shape to the graph for good literature. And again, there's really a couple different reasons for that. One is ironies relating to the overall plot. These are ironies that you can't fully appreciate or understand unless you know the full plot, but the second time you read it, you can catch those ironies as you go along. And it also just, if you know the plot, that frees up brain space to explore the characters and the insights about life, so you can focus on the things that are deeper the second time you read it. So that's the second reason that good literature has a positive second derivative here. And that's the economic definition of good literature.